Hello everybody and welcome to Sigcast. This is going to be an experimental video, but more actually like a startup video to kick off the cast and the channel. Everything going into this, I'm going to be trying to do NFL news, straight up, like latest NFL news, truthful, just stuff that gets out there, like, you know, all the head coach vacancies that were finally filled this last weekend, and you know, player signings, any off-season moves, any moves in the middle of the regular season, during the regular season, game predictions, you know, big matchup predictions, all that stuff. But I'm gonna try and get it out as fast as possible when this comes. But yeah. So mostly gonna be NFL stuff because that's what I enjoy looking at. That's what I enjoy watching. But yeah. Anyway, let's get to the video.
Nobody get it, nobody care. And I told my grandma I was gonna do it for her, yeah, I swear. And they like
Hello everybody and welcome to Sigcast. In today's video we're going to be talking about Alvin Kamara, and one of the most prolific running backs in the last few years that seemingly just threw his career away the day before the Pro Bowl. I mean, charges show, you know, he used assault and battery of bodily harm on a man on Saturday night before the Pro Bowl. He played in the Pro Bowl and then was later arrested after the Pro Bowl. And after being one of the most successful running backs so far in the last 3 to 4 years of his career, looking forward on the Saints team, I mean, he was doing pretty good. I'd say, in my opinion, top 5 running back in the league. Maybe outside of top 5, I'm not sure. Just because of some of the rising stars like Jonathan Taylor, Joe Mixon, you know, maybe Christian McCaffrey gets bumped out because of Alvin Kamara. But you also got Dalvin Cook, and then there's Derrick Henry, straight up in his prime. But seemingly being one of the best receiving backs in the league, minus Christian McCaffrey because of his injuries and being plagued with those, Alvin Kamara has pretty much thrown his career away. Even if he does get 5 years, he's not getting out of jail and just starting back up from where he left off. He's not going to be in pristine NFL condition to where he can dominate defenders like he does today, and he'll be a little bit older by then. So in a way, the way the world works now, he's going to be irrelevant by the time he gets out of jail. It'll be mentioned in the news maybe. But moving forward, Alvin Kamara, I'd say, I mean, he was my favorite running back in the NFL, and to see him go like this was one of the saddest things that I've witnessed in NFL history. But what does this mean for the Saints going forward? They don't have many running backs to fill in of that position. Like you saw this season where Alvin Kamara got injured for multiple different games, and he didn't play. And they had a fill-in running back that probably wasn't the best running back that they could fill in. I mean, no quarterback as well, with Jameis Winston coming back next year off of an ACL tear. He's going to have no options. You saw the Seahawks game this year in the regular season. Jameis Winston had no one to throw to but Alvin Kamara that game, with 100 receiving yards and about 70 rushing yards in that game. They relied on him heavily this year. With Michael Thomas being out, he'll come back next year. That'll be a useful thing from Jameis Winston, but the amount of potential Alvin Kamara had to be after an end of a career in NFL as a running back, he wouldn't have been up in the all-time favorites, but he would have been up there, you know? Like, he wouldn't have just been sitting ducks at, you know, straight, just bottom of the barrel. Alvin Kamara was good. I mean, he is. But in my eyes, I see this as a complete waste of an NFL career, and that someone with better decision-making and whatever happened, you know, the details of this haven't seemed to be released fully publicly yet, and I'm gonna look further into it just to see. But you know, on your screen right now there should be an image now of, you know, this is gonna, well, not right now, but in a few seconds, this is a warning for those that don't like graphic content or gory content. The damage that Alvin Kamara did on this person's face was, as soon as I saw it, I mean, it's sad to see him go and lose his career, but at the same time, I lose absolute respect for this kind of actions out of a person that gets this opportunity, this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to play in a pro sport. There's so many more people that could make better decisions based on the actions of how people retaliate nowadays with how things work. I believe that there was probably something said in that whatever conflict that was. And sure, it could have been something that really, really, pissed him off. But whatever the conflict was that I'm going to look further into soon enough, I'm gonna see how actually reasonable this action was, because violence never really seems to be reasonable unless it's something that's really personal or is offensive and vulgar to you in public. But I'm assuming that this guy did not know Alvin Kamara in the least of ways and just said something outright, crazy, and Alvin retaliated without thinking and just an emotion because of something. I mean, Alvin seemed to be living his life perfectly fine. Sure, the Saints missed the playoffs at 9-8 this year. They missed him out of a few games. But the Saints defense has a lot to look forward to with Marshawn Lattimore, and Cam Jordan's probably going to retire in the next year or two. He's pretty old. But the D-line is still developing. Their linebackers, they got Demario Davis. He's kind of old. But, their defense has a lot to look forward to, and their offensive talent now with him being gone kind of just depletes. I mean, their entire dynamic of the game. They were really pass heavy when Drew Brees was there, and they still kind of were after he left. But they really relied on Alvin to be there for them because he was just a workload. He was a workhorse for the Saints. And I would say on the positive side of him being arrested and probably, charged and convicted, the Saints cap space, I'm sure, isn't looking too friendly right now anyways, and they've still been around the bottom of the league for a little bit now because they've been paying their players, rightfully so, for the development that they've shown and the progress that they've put towards the league. I mean, you've got the all-time record holder of receptions in a season, Michael Thomas, at wide receiver. He's been out for a year and a half. And, the Saints moving forward, I feel like Sean Payton's gone. They just filled in their head coach vacancy. They've got a whole chapter to just flip to, because I feel like they were too still, because they tried calling Drew Brees out of retirement. They tried that as well. And that was the hilarious pic of Drew Brees barefoot in, golfing or whatever out in Florida. But the Saints right now are, I'd say, my prediction for them next year, I'd say, is third in the NFC South if the Falcons aren't absolute dog shit. Falcons are my favorite team, obviously, but I'm not going to show any bias towards the Saints. I'm just saying that they've got a lot to work towards next year. They've got a lot ahead of them. Their defense might still hold them and stuff, but I'd say their offensive dynamic, abilities is going to be hard with no star running back in the backfield. Jameis Winston, he's still learning stuff. He's still developing. He's still trying. He had laser eye surgery a year or two ago. Michael Thomas is coming back, sure. That'll probably help him. And some of those, small receivers that are out there for the Saints are going to help Jameis a little bit as well, because they can still catch the football. Any star wide receiver can catch the ball, but any non-star wide receiver can still catch the ball too, as long as they get their job done. The O-line is still kind of there. They have Cesar Ruiz that they just drafted 2 years ago, I think, a year or two ago. They've got stuff in bits and pieces to work towards. But it all depends on how they feel and how they want to play this. Because, looking at their draft pick, they're 17 or 18. What's their best need right now? Well, now that Alvin Kamara is probably out for the next 5 years, probably not in the NFL ever again. Either, if there's a top running back that you see in the first round that you want to pick, maybe pick him up. Just look out for it, but don't exactly try and take a running back, first round. The Steelers took a chance on Najee Harris. He performed well. He's still doing well. Probably take a running back in the second round, though. Because I just don't see any running backs in the first round that have that kind of talent, like Najee Harris or Christian McCaffrey, who was drafted at 5th overall in his draft. But either draft defensively or try and get yourself a new wide receiver. You know, add to that offense, or even draft a line to protect Jameis Winston a little more. But the running back position is a little confusing right now for the New Orleans Saints. So as I'm looking more into this Alvin Kamara case, I'm seeing that on Twitter where it was posted. It says Green States he was leaving the club for the night, and he made his way into the elevators. There was a group of people waiting as he started a conversation with one of them. As soon as the elevator opened, Green and a large party he was speaking with began walking towards the open elevator doors. One male, would later be identified as Alvin Kamara, had put his hand on Green's chest, stopping him from walking into the elevator. Green pushed Kamara's hand off his chest. Green stated that he was pushed hard, causing himself to stumble back. After Green was pushed, he states that he was being hit and kicked by multiple people and lost of consciousness. The only one that Green can remember is described as a black male in his 20s. He was approximately 5'10", muscular, and either had dreadlocks or braided hair. The suspect was either wearing a gray shirt or a gray sweater. So, obviously this guy only remembered Alvin Kamara out of all the people that were in that elevator that were supposedly kicking him. I had just seen on ESPN, they posted that a 50-second video, Mike Triplett posted that video surveillance shows New Orleans Saints running back Alvin Kamara punching a man approximately 8 times before Kamara's associates proceeded to stomp on him several more times on the ground in a Las Vegas casino Saturday morning. Yeah, so as a perspective of what is going on, they were simply getting off of an elevator, and there was probably an altercation of someone bumping into each other, or there wasn't enough room on this elevator, or they had already been on the elevator is what it sounds like, and they were getting off. It sounds like a random start on a Saturday morning to just punch a guy 8 times and then have your associates or acquaintances around you ready to just take this guy on, 4-1 and 5-1, however many people were there. It makes sense that there's video evidence because they were just in a casino hotel, like wherever they were. But this was in the morning. So when the police found out this happened, this was when he'd already made it to the hospital that day, and he didn't know it was. He just described him basically, and then they finally found out it was Alvin Kamara later that Sunday, arresting him after the Pro Bowl. They said that, it's a way later down the road, but what are the Saints going to do? There's a football angle of it. Are he's obviously in trouble with the police, but he's got to be in trouble with the league as well, because, the Saints could void all the money off his contract and release him later down the road, but that's way down the road. We have no idea what's going to happen with that. But this is a serious charge that he's been charged with, and there's not enough right now to tell what's going to happen, but I have a feeling that he's going to be, off the radar of the NFL for either, a few months now until his sentence is decided. But as the matter of fact is, Alvin Kamara is probably done for a few years. I mean, he's in trouble with the police, the league, his team. He jeopardized everything for something probably that wasn't worth it. Because it doesn't even make sense on how he was getting off an elevator in the morning. It says he was with a large party. So why did Kamara put his hand on Green's chest? I have no idea. Probably just because there wasn't enough room and the guy just wanted in. But from what it sounds like, they got off of it. They got off of the elevator. Not only did Kamara push him hard enough, or the other way around, I'm not sure. Probably Kamara pushing him, but however hard Kamara pushed him, he proceeded to lunge at him and punch him in the face 8 times. 3 of those times being while Green was on the ground. That's just, it doesn't make sense. So, there's not enough storyline here. Like, the investigation's probably obviously still going down, but there's like not enough storyline to this. Like, it feels like there's not enough showing exactly how it went down, because how do you tie the loose ends of getting onto an elevator, you know, putting your hand on someone's chest and pushing them? Like, how does the altercation start? Because no one just puts, like, you can, sure, like, obviously putting your hands on a stranger is gonna get them, like, provoked, like, hey, what are you doing? Why are you putting your hand on me? Like, that's not right. But more in the fact of, you know, it's a large group of people. You're telling me every single one of them just believed in violence that morning. They just woke up and said, we're going to get on this elevator, and if anyone messes with us, we're just going to jump right in with you, Alvin. And the fact that Alvin even relatively, like, he didn't think this through, obviously. And that's what some people in the NFL that I see that get in trouble, like with legal trouble and stuff. Now I know I'm not in a position of being a multi-millionaire pro sport player. But I feel like in that moment, like, if I ever did or was, I'm instantly thinking of my reputation, not in a selfish way, but to make sure that I don't do something stupid and that I regret and that could jeopardize my career in any way, shape, or form. Because that could just paint a whole different picture of who you are. I mean, kids and people, like teenagers and adults, look up to these people as role models of hard workers, of people that show their dedication to something and work hard at it. And then there's people like this where, like, you don't see behind the shell, and like stars in the NFL, young stars in the NFL like Alvin Kamara can end up just like this. I mean, it happened with Henry Ruggs, the car crash earlier this regular season. You know, Damon Arnett is finally back in jail, you know, because, you know, the fact that he had that gun on Instagram and then he got signed by the Chiefs. I did see from Microphone on YouTube, huge inspiration, but he made a few videos about Damon Arnett, and I'm like, he got signed by the Chiefs? I didn't even know that. I didn't see him play in any games. I think he was just on the practice squad, but I'm not sure. And now Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara has been great up until this point in the NFL, his NFL career. He was not started at Alabama. He transferred to Tennessee, did great there. Drafted a little bit lower in the draft, I think, than what his talent was. But he really just had potential, and he kind of just, I mean, this Saints team has so much to look forward to, and that's a huge blow, because that's a really great player you have on your team. I mean, what is he? Has he made the Pro Bowl every year since he was a rookie, or am I wrong? I have a feeling that he has, but I might have to look into that. Alvin Kamara has been drafted in the 3rd round in 2017, and since then, in all 5 of his seasons, has been named to the Pro Bowl. You're telling me a 5-time Pro Bowl running back is getting arrested over his actions? You're telling me that's not going to be a huge blow to a team? That's a huge blow to an NFL team. I mean, a 5-time straight Pro Bowl running back. Sure, Pro Bowl is kind of a voting, popularity contest nowadays. The accolade isn't as special anymore. But in my eyes, like, it still adds to your resume. Like, you obviously are performing well enough to get your name out there to be popular. That's the reason why you're winning part of the popularity contest, is because you are doing good. You have your name out there. I mean, think about it. If Micah Parsons doesn't play good this year, is he in the Pro Bowl roster? Is he even considered Defensive Rookie of the Year? Maybe even Defensive Player of the Year? No, he's not. But he's already played at an elite level in his first ever NFL season, and he's already made the Pro Bowl. His name's out there, and that's what I mean. If you're that good and you put your name out there, you're gonna get voted to the Pro Bowl. But this all circles back around to, what are the Saints gonna do now? Because I don't see him playing next year with this charge. Obviously Deshaun Watson, the Texans didn't start him once this year after all those accusations. I mean, Deshaun Watson was leading the league in passing yards the year before he got into that bunch of crap. But the Texans screwed him over and he wanted out. And he kind of got screwed over by the rest of the league. You know, he didn't really get to get that chance to prove himself yet. And that court case, I'm pretty sure, is still pending. And everything's still trying to work its way out. But no one's really talking about it because nothing's major's happened. But Alvin Kamara, I just don't see him playing next year. And if he gets, put in jail for a few years, then yeah, he's not going to play for a few years. And he probably couldn't play for the rest of his career, honestly. Maybe he gets signed to like a 1 or 2 year deal by a random team. But this is just another like career that's just kind of like ruined by domestic violence or something that's like, like Kareem Hunt, his career wasn't ruined. But how noticeable was he when he was on the Chiefs versus how noticeable he is now on the Browns? I mean, think about it. Think about that. Let that sit. But that's all I got on the Alvin Kamara stuff right now. If there more stuff comes out, I'll be able to get back on it. But I'll be looking more into more sports stuff. This video was just more of an experiment to try and see how this would work out. So I think it's done well.
Nobody get it, nobody care. And I told my grandma I was gonna